Hello, everyone, and welcome back to God of War. So, is Mimir finally going to tell us his story this time?
What did you want to tell me about the long war?
What is he going
I
to
thought
tell us
that was a
about the long
body
war?
you just ran over on the water.
Nope, it was a barrel.
It was just debris.
Yeah. So yeah, now when you're in the boat and going to places, Mimir will tell you fancy stories instead of Kratos being bad at them.
Which isn't breath of fresh air because
Yeah.
awkward Kratos is only endearing for so long until he starts opening up to his son.
I mean, it does help that this game has a more extended cast of characters that you're interacting with on the regular, because, you know,
Well, Kratos actually has a travel companion instead of just being angry by himself the entire time.
yeah, and that's kind of the thing I'm getting at is like for 3 games plus spin-offs, or plus prequels, I guess they aren't really spin-offs. Kratos is just kind of on his own the entire time. And occasionally there's a cutscene where he talks to some other god or some shit, but for the most part it's just Kratos, and his entire dialogue script is just growls and yells and occasionally saying something angry to someone. It gets a little bit tiresome over time, I'm not going to lie. No, that's a lie. It gets very tiresome. So it's nice that we get to see Kratos interacting with people more frequently.
I know. We only got one side of
The fact that he's bad at it just makes it more charming.
Father? I mean, I get angry at you sometimes, but
Do you?
I mean, sometimes.
Nice glass house, Kratos.
I can't believe Atreus is just like, man, who would kill their own father? And Kratos is just like,
Glenn really did.
Whistling and looking to the side.
There must be a way to lift the gate.
Maybe with the big water wheel.
I thought as well.
how long in
Eh.
the game does it take to get the Blades of Chaos?
It just depends on how many side quests you're doing.
I mean, like, compared to right now, like, how much farther in the game before you get them?
We get them in part 32, so...
Oh.
Okay. So fairly late into the game, considering this is
Um,
like 40-something.
If we're doing no side quests, it's at about the halfway point. If you're doing everything you can when you can do it, it's more closer to 2/3.
Ah. It is neat that they, like, still have a full featured Blades of Chaos in the game, despite how late you get them.
Yeah.
I'm just like...
I mean, it's the nature of side quests, so...
it just makes me think of Tomb Raider reboot again, with the way that they steadfastly avoid ever letting you dual wield pistols outside of that one cutscene at the end of 2013.
I mean, the easiest comparison now is how late you get the Morph Ball in Dread.
Oh yeah, a whole 2% of the way into the game you have to wait.
It's longer
Hey,
than
that's
2%.
like 2% longer than usual, though. To be fair,
I
like in
mean-
the context of Metroid.
I didn't get the Morph Ball until like an hour and a half into the game, and normally you get it like
Immediately.
10 minutes, or you have it from the start. So, you know. Granted, I think that it was genius how they did it, but
It made every Metroid fan extremely paranoid.
yeah, just like, where is it? Where's the Morph Ball?
I
I
guess
was paranoid, but I was like, where the fuck is it?
I guess I'm just not a Metroid fan because I didn't care.
Man,
like
what
the
a fake
slide.
Metroid fan.
Because you had the slide though. It's not like you didn't have any sort of means to get through tight corridors.
And honestly, the
I
slide's
think and the
better
slide
than
is
the
great.
Morph Ball
Yeah, so
in
it's
a
like
lot
the
of
slide's
ways.
great.
But it's just like, where is it? Where's the Morph Ball? It'd be like if you're playing Zelda and you don't get the bow until like two-thirds of the way into the game.
You generally
Ocarina of Time.
don't.
I was gonna
get
say,
the
that sounds like
bow
Ocarina of
until,
Time.
Yeah, but you
like,
get the slingshot, which is we have the bow at home. So, you know.
you don't get the bow until I think like what, Adult Link time?
Yeah, to your
Yeah,
adult.
Force
It's the
Temple.
first
Force Temple.
power-up you get as Adult Link, though.
Nope, hookshot.
Still, but that takes 7
Wait, you get
years.
the hookshot before the bow?
You need the hookshot to get in.
Okay, I haven't played this game in a billion years, so I'll take your word for it. But
If you're playing the game as intended, you need the hookshot to get into the Forest Temple. If you're playing however the hell you feel like, you can do the Force Temple last. So
Meanwhile, Breath of the Wild Link is just sitting here like, what's a hook shot? Who needs that shit? I've got a paraglider.
You do.
yeah, he needs a hook shot.
I hope Breath of the Wild 2
You
is
don't need a hook shot when your
Dude, I think-
friend can shoot you directly 300 feet into the air.
Look. You don't need a douchebag friend to do that. First of all, you can just very rapidly plant 2 bombs beneath your feet and launch yourself 300 feet into the air. But
Yeah, but less
Set-
third-degree burns is always a better amount of third-degree burns. So
no, because like the bombs that the Sheikah Slate creates don't actually make any fire, just concussive force.
Oh, okay.
But-
Then just internal bleeding. Then all right.
But like, you know, you can always just stuff your face with apples and you're fine. But okay, setting aside the hook shot though, the thing that they're adding for Breath of the Wild 2 looks like even more amazing, because it just like sort of beams you directly upward from wherever you're standing and through the ceiling above you.
I think that's going to be more like you have Overworld, Hyrule, and then you have like Skyloft.
No, the footage
Hyrule sort of
the
thing.
footage they showed in the trailer showed him using it to just get through a ceiling that was slightly above him. It's cool. It's cool
I
shit.
have not seen the trailer in a long time, so I don't really remember it.
Yeah,
I
until
don't
Lewis
remember
brought
that.
mention to it, I forgot there even was a Breath of the Wild 2 sort of teaser or
I
trailer.
mean, it shows off some interesting stuff that's fairly telling if you analyze it, but mostly, yeah, it does come down to their.
No, I don't want to get in the boat. I want to get the treasure.
It mostly does come down to there being like sky continents and the open world from the original game, just with more stuff, which I suppose means there's 2 open worlds stacked on top of each other. Which
The
is
theme to the dark world. The
frickin'
theme to the dark world.
insane. Which is freaking insane. It's like Breath of the Wild, but with the Sea of Clouds from Final Fantasy XIV stacked on top of it. It's I'm looking forward to it.
Lewis, are you telling me that the Zelda team made 2 overworlds that are mirrors of each other?
No, I'm telling you that they made one overworld that's the same overworld as before, but with more stuff in it, and a second overworld on top of that that's a bunch of floating islands.
The theme to the dark world.
And like, from what I can see, this whole plot seems to hinge on like this really subdued sort of historical thing that you could see hints of in the first game. So like,
Well, I
it's-
mean,
it's-
we have dehydrated Ganondorf, so
dehydrated Ganondorf, yeah, but like there was this other ancient culture besides the Sheikah that you could occasionally find ruins of and their emblem all over the place. Like the only significant role they played in Breath of the Wild 1 was that they were the people that made the barbarian armor, I think. But like it seems like they're coming to the forefront in the plot of Breath of the Wild 2, or at least it looks that way. And it's like, okay, were they really setting up for this the whole time?
probably not knowing Nintendo.
Who can say?
No, that's the reason I'm asking. They normally don't plan ahead with their side games. Like even when they do direct sequels, it's something like Link's Awakening or Majora's Mask, where it's some unrelated bullshit that they just came up with flying by the seat of their pants. But it looks like they intentionally were setting up for an extended plot line here, and I'm excited because they never do that, and they seem to be doing a good job. And it's like, yeah, it's cool that we had Breath of the Wild with Ganondorf having given up on reincarnation and become become a giant cloud of pig evil or something, but they're actually going farther than that and explaining how it happened from the looks of it. And like, that just makes it sound to me like someone at Nintendo actually paid attention to the negative feedback for the Skyward Sword story, which didn't so much explain how stuff happened as
It was just Ocarina of Time again, but worse in most regards.
I wouldn't describe it that way, because like they
Well, where did Ganon come from? This evil thing happened beforehand. Okay, so where did Ganondorf come from? Oh, an eviler thing happened beforehand, and
Well,
we're never going
that's-
to reference it again.
That's the thing, like their explanation for Ganondorf gaining this evil power in the first place was that he had a connection to some distant, long ago defeated god of evil. And, you know, as
far as Skyward Sword goes, yes.
as a concept that works. It's just the way they presented that storyline was
it's
not
also
great.
it's also a retcon.
I mean, you're not going to do a prequel without some amount of retcons, to be fair.
All prequels are retcons. That's what prequels are. It's retroactive continuity. But like the blank the blank they were filling was a blank that was there to be
Not
filled.
really. No, there wasn't. We knew exactly where Ganon came from. We figured it out in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the question is, well, then where did Ganondorf come from?
No, we know exactly where Ganondorf
The question
came from.
they
in
answered
Ocarina of
in
Time.
Ocarina of Time was where Ganon came from. We didn't find out where Ganon's power came from, apart from him grabbing the
we
Triforce
did.
of Power. But he
Yeah,
had power
it came
before
from the
that.
It came from the Triforce of Power. That's
He had power
brazenly-
before he got that, though.
Is this the nerdiest argument we've had on BrainScratch?
No, I
Cons?
think. Hold on, wait. No, I thought Ganondorf always had the Triforce of Power.
And then
Well, he
there's a whole timeline where
he was the chosen.
Yeah, he
wielder
was
of the
chosen.
Triforce
Just
of
as
There's
like
a
no
whole-
different than
There's a
Lincoln.
whole-
No different than Link and Zelda.
No, there's a whole goddamn time. Yeah, there's a whole goddamn timeline where he grabbed the Triforce of Power when he got into the Sacred Realm, and that's halfway.
Well, he grabbed the
through.
Triforce, and then they did the whole Dragon Ball thing, and he got the Triforce of Power.
Yeah, what?
They betrayed him.
That was like halfway through Ocarina of Time, though.
Yes.
I'm talking about Ganon before that. He existed. He was
Yeah,
a thing.
so
They
you
had
knew
to
exact-
seal him
yeah.
away before he even achieved that.
Wait. Okay, hold on.
In the split timeline stuff, when Link goes back and tells them, yes. But
This is definitely the nerdiest
Look,
argument we've had on BrainScratch.
At least as of
if
late.
Ganondorf-
here's the thing. Everything about Ganondorf is perfectly explained in Ocarina of Time and other games. The whole demise thing is a brazen retcon that adds nothing to
If
the backstory.
Ganondorf were that simple to kill before he got the Triforce, then they wouldn't
Twilight
have had
Princess.
to seal him in the child timeline. They could have just cut off his.
No,
goddamn head.
they sealed him in the adult timeline.
They sealed him in both timelines.
No, they didn't.
No, he's
they
he gets
killed- they killed-
incarcerated
they-
for
they-
he
they
gets
killed him in
incarcerated
Twilight
for his
Princess.
actions in the Majora's Mask timeline. And Twilight Princess, he's sealed away.
But isn't there still a Ganondorf in the child's timeline?
What? Oh, that leads to Majora's Mask.
And yeah, after Majora's Mask.
Look, no matter which game you're looking at,
This is
as
Okay,
long
so-
as
It's this is really
Okay,
stupid, but video filling conversation that I'm all for.
Yeah, so if I'm remembering correctly, Twilight Princess is after Majora's Mask and stuff. If I'm
Yes.
remembering
So
correctly.
there's
Yes.
still a Ganondorf.
Okay, so basically what happened there, and as it's explained in Twilight Princess, Zelda and young Link, exposed Ganon for his planned betrayal of the King of Hyrule and all that. So that's when they bring him to the whole Arbiter's ground, stab him through the chest and all that, and it's like, oh no, he's not actually dying because, chosen by the Triforce of Power and all that. So then they seal him in the Twilight Realm. And then Twilight Princess kicks off, functionally speaking.
that doesn't
But
actually.
what Lewis was asking, who was Ganondorf before the
He was
Triforce
the
Power?
king of the
Why-
the king of the Gerudo, basically.
Why was he
Yeah.
chosen? And that's the question that Skyward Sword
Well,
could
nobody
have
asked
answered.
why-
Because
why was
gods
Link?
are dicks.
Like,
It's like, why
Skyward-
was Link chosen?
Well, Skyward Sword answers that question for Zelda, and it answers that question for Ganon. It doesn't answer that question for Zelda. For Zelda? For Link. It doesn't answer that question for Link, which is the most frustrating thing about the story. Because it's just like, oh, hey, you're the chosen hero. And that's his entire thing in Skyward
Hold on, I
Sword.
thought
even
Link
though-
had to- Link had to earn that, though.
I feel it doesn't really add anything, though. It's
No, but because,
utterly
like-
pointless, it's an utterly pointless distinction to make. Because
He was
we had a
chosen by-
we had a perfectly good explanation as to why Ganon was chosen in Ocarina of
No,
Time.
we didn't. It just
Yes, we did.
The only thing we got was that he was. That's all we got. The only thing that
That's like riots. Yes, he did.
the only thing
Fuck you.
The only
Stop
thing
talking.
the only thing Ocarina of Time did for Ganon before that was that it explained that he actually was something other than a demon pig before we were introduced to him as a demon pig in the earlier games. And that was fine for the time, but like it didn't really tell us anything about where his power came from and whatnot. And that was something
No,
that
to be fair,
could have been
Ganondorf was a
explored.
thing. Ganondorf as a concept
was
was a thing
referenced
since
in
Link,
Link to the Past.
yeah, as early as Link to the Past.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
they name
it
drop
was.
him.
They
Yeah,
name
they name
drop
drop
him. That
Ganondorf,
doesn't really
yes.
explain anything, does it? But like,
Well, it does explain that he was a person before becoming Ganon, but
eh. But like, my point is, Skyward Sword did have like something that it could have explained with, in a way that added to the story. It just didn't explain it in a way that added much to the story. But it did.
I would argue it didn't add anything at all.
It
But
did add some things. Skyward Sword was the first game where we got like explicit confirmation of Zelda as being chosen by the goddess and being descended from the goddess, which
Oh, I hate the stupid Hylia goddess thing. It's like
I
we
didn't
had-
think
we
she
had- we
needed
had-
to be a reincarnation of Hylia. No.
Yeah, it didn't.
Well, my
I
point-
feel that
my
that was
point-
pointless, and I feel the whole concept of Hylia is stupid because we had a perfectly good explanation with the three goddesses of Din, Nehru, and
yeah, but
Aurora
those
to begin
but
with,
those
so-
goddesses pieced out like literally as soon as they did anything. So
yeah, and then the
like,
writer for Skyward Sword just pretends they don't exist.
not
They pieced out after they did their thing, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like they
They
created
still,
the
they still
world.
did.
They
They still
created the
did
world
stuff.
and
Hylia is
pieced out.
just.
Yeah, they pieced out, yes.
Yeah, well, that still means they did something. It's like
My
Hylia's
point
like,
i-
oh, there's
yeah,
this
they did
magical goddess,
something,
and it's
but-
like, okay, what does Hylia do? We don't know. She's just a thing they worship. It's like, okay,
what does well, yeah, but my point is less that like in a it's not like so much that in a vacuum Hylia is an interesting concept. It's more that it's a thing that they added to the story and then proceeded to do things with.
what did they do with it? They did nothing. It's just a thing that
It's
they
like
say,
half.
oh,
It's like half the plot of Breath of the Wild is tied in with that. So they were doing things with it actively, whereas such as Zelda's entire storyline is tied in with her trying to
What
unlock
Zelda's
her-
ability to hold on?
the only part of that was just, oh, she's a reincarnation of the goddess. Okay, who is Hylia? What did she do? Why are we worshiping her? Etc.
I guess,
Etc.
Lewis,
see,
I guess
I
the
gotta
way
go-
a better way to explain it is that Zelda doesn't need to be a reincarnation of Hylia for Zelda's plot line in Breath of the Wild to matter,
Or
because it
Skyward,
could just be
yeah.
like, you are the chosen princess,
isn't
you
one.
need to come into your magic power. You know, it doesn't have to specifically be Hylia or anything like that.
Well, I
You
mean,
know,
yeah.
Well, at least this is a
but
bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom.
If
That's
there's,
it.
but if there's that context, the characters act on that context. If it's just a vague
what we're
chosen
saying is,
power,
well,
how
that's
do
what
you
we're saying.
unlock
What
it?
context in there? We don't know anything about Hylia.
We don't
She's
have
just some-
to.
she's
The
just
characters
some-
don't know anything about Hylia either. It's why they
So
bumbled
why
up that
does so
entire
why does
plot
it
so badly.
Yeah. So why does it matter then? Why does she? Why do we need to have this
It-
Hylia here in the first
It
place?
matters because the entire reason that nobody could figure out how to unlock Zelda's powers was because nobody knew a fucking thing about Zelda's powers. The fact that we
Even
do
though we've
not
had
know
like 30 Zeldas up
is
to
the
that point in the
point.
timeline.
30
Yeah, but you're thinking as this series as a whole, not in the context of Breath of the Wild's narrative.
my
thing
my
about
point is just
the thing
that
about the thing about Zelda in Breath of the Wild is that her mother, who actually knew all these answers, died before she could teach her daughter.
Damn, nobody written anything down.
Yeah, that's basically where they fucked up.
it just feels dumb because it's like, okay, at least we know what the three goddesses did, and they purposely left behind the Triforce entirely. So it's like, okay, we have reasons to
Yeah, but
think they're magical, powerful beings that just have
The
Skyward Sword
problem
and
with
Breath of the
that-
Wild are just, oh, it's Hylia, she's the great goddess who
The problem
did
with
what now?
the three goddesses is that they did something and then they pieced out, but the problem with that concept is that it closes the door for them doing anything else in the future.
I mean, nothing's stopping.
A
nothing's
game
stopping
hasn't, to be fair, a game hasn't had a chance to explore that element yet.
Yeah,
like,
it's- and-
that was
and then-
only one game, I think,
Yeah.
and that was Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, now we have Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, where there's this random other goddess who is explained to have done absolutely nothing.
Man, we're never gonna be able
Yeah.
to get through an actual Skyward Sword commentary.
mean,
are we?
I know, right?
Well, that's gonna be like that. That's gonna be the commentary that kills the channel. Like, mark my words.
You say she's done absolutely nothing, but like Zelda's part in Skyward Sword itself is Hylia.
That's Zelda.
things.
No, that's Zelda, not Hylia.
No, she specifically reincarnated herself as a mortal for reasons. What those reasons aren't fully
What?
explained yet, but that's what Zelda is. She is basically
That's
the
Zelda,
goddess
not
reborn.
Hylia.
She's Lady Jesus in Zelda Land, basically.
We'll see you next part.